Volunteers, all non-for-profit, and how many dogs do you usually see come to the shelter on a daily basis?
Well, not so much on a daily basis because we do a lot of pulling from the local kill shelters is what it amounts to. So we have to base our volume strictly on what we have available space-wise. Because we are a private shelter and we're not affiliated with any kind of government agency or public public funding, that type of thing. So
how do you choose which dogs come and which dogs don't?
A lot of times the kill shelters will call us and say, we have such and such, or this dog or this cat that has possible injuries or behavior issues or that type of things. So in many cases we take the more difficult to place, or the elderly to place, that type of thing.
So it kind of is like the dogs that are on their last leg, or the death row animals.
Pretty much. And the dogs that are needing that extra something special, maybe they are heartworm positive, maybe they've been hit by a car and need a leg amputation, or someplace to rehab. Maybe their injury isn't life-threatening, but it is an injury, and in a shelter environment, from the public standpoint, they wouldn't thrive, I would say. It would be more a case of, and we can give them that little bit of extra where, just due to funds, the public agencies can't.
Right, they don't have those.
Right, absolutely. Not their fault, of course, by any means.
I mean, it's hard.
It's hard, because they have to take everything. Everything that comes through the door, they have to deal with. So we're kind of like, the safety valve that when they have an animal, and all shelter workers get passionate about particular animals, so that they want to make sure are saved, and they will call and say, "Can you help?" And in most cases, we can help.
Now, do you see a certain influx of different breeds more than others coming in? So what is that breed?
The pit bulls.
Right.
And believe it or not, Chihuahuas. Of course, the pit bulls stigma and that type of thing makes it a little bit more difficult to adopt. But in many communities now, that's changing. So
and how do you see that changing? The stereotypes, the quote-unquote discrimination, is that when you get a pit bull into your shelter, do you find that it takes longer for them to find a forever home because of that stereotype?
Not so much in South Bend anymore. South Bend has become much more progressive over the last 3 years. We don't have a breed-specific ordinance any longer. I sat on that committee, so
that's amazing.
Like I say, in 2013, we were able to reconstruct our animal ordinances, and that was part of it. So as far as we're concerned, as far as Pet Refuge is concerned, a pit bull is no different than a Maltese, than a Cocker Spaniel, than anything else. It's a dog needing a home. I think our rescue community is getting our community is getting more receptive. I think our rescue community has always been receptive to that particular breed. And they're seeing just from public events, when we have dog days of summer or whatever the event happens to be, and that particular breed is out amongst the public, they're great dogs. They're no different than any other dog, and they love to be loved, and and I think the general population in South Bend is, like I say, much more receptive than it was several years ago.
Did you find when you were on the board that certain messages or certain ways of educating the public as to what the breed is really about worked better than others?
I think for South Bend, it was a case of having a really, really strong rescue community that was advocated for that particular breed, and their voice was heard, that this was an acceptable breed. There was no reason to ban the breed, as they say, or whatever the case may be.